Simply having a more positive mindset about aging added 7.6 years to people's lives. So it turns out that this kind of invisible thing that everybody has control over, how you think, is one of the most powerful things you can do to increase both the quantity and the quality of your life. You can shift the way you think. And I'll teach you right now. The way to do it is.
Some experts chase attention, but the smart ones build authority. You're listening to the Authority on Demand podcast, where credibility becomes your competitive advantage. Every week, we're pulling back the curtain on how founders and leaders turn expertise into inbound demand through books that position, media that converse, and strategies that actually move the needle. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, your host and Chief Creative Officer at Authority on Demand. Now, let's turn your authority into leverage. Okay, everybody. So about a year ago, we welcomed Erika Andersen to the Authors on Mission podcast. We talked about change, about leadership, and about her framework for helping people navigate uncertainty. At the end of that conversation, she mentioned something in passing. I'm finishing my 6th book. Well, a year later, the 6th book is now out. It's called The New Old: How to Craft Your Best Later Life. And by July, just 1 month after its June release, it became a #1 Amazon bestseller in the category of Conduct of Life and Spirituality. This is an exciting conversation because Erika Andersen has spent 35 years helping Fortune 500 executives and major organizations crack the codes of leadership, strategy, change, and learning. She's the founding partner of Fortuous International, a consulting firm that's thrived for over 3 decades. She's written 5 best-selling business books, and now she's turned her lens on something our society needs to rethink. That's aging. And so I am excited to chat about this one. Erika is never stopping, always expanding. We have a lot to learn. So, Erika, welcome back to the show. So nice to see you again.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be back here a year later, now that you're, the queen of podcasting, and I've done 300 plus of these.
That is true, everybody. Erika and I were chatting right before this, and she was our 7th episode, and now we're at over like 330 now. So it's crazy how time change, but our podcast is not the only thing that's grown since then. And Erika here has just continued to expand and thrive, and this new book is just a testament to that. So, hey, real quick before we jump back in, if you're loving what we're doing here, hit that subscribe button and drop us a like. We're bringing you the best authors, the most real conversations, and all the writing wisdom that you didn't know you needed. So stick around because it only gets better from here. All right, now let's get back to the conversation. Yeah, I mean, let's start with that, I mean, you were just finishing this book when we last talked. So what has the journey been like since then? How does it feel different from launching your previous 5 books?
Oh, that's a great question. It has lots of dimensions. So the way in which it's different is it's about how to get old well, and all my previous books are about leadership and learning and change, but it's funny how it's built. It's not that different because in one way, when I write a book, I'm always trying to crack a code for people. I'm always trying to take something that people see as difficult and challenging and show a path through it. And that's exactly what when I decided to start writing this book, which was about during the pandemic, actually, I thought, this would be a good code to crack. A lot of people, I think, are sort of overwhelmed by the idea of getting old. And I want to help people figure out how to get old well.
Right.
So in that way, it's the same. It's always all about cracking a code. The other difference, though, is my first 5 books were all done with traditional publishers. And this book I did with you guys with Authors on Mission. It's been a marvelous experience. You guys are really good at what you do. And it was by far more collaborative than my previous experiences, which I love. So it's been great.
I'm so glad that the experience has been, beneficial, and that, we are all team here, so I'm glad you noticed the collaboration aspect of it. But yeah, I mean, it's great to hear that things have really just jump started and continued on. So you have been living in Spain for many years. So I'm curious to know, I mean, how has that kind of experience of starting over a new country informed the principles in the new old? You told me a little bit how your friends over there were telling you should put this stuff into a book and kind of encouraging you. So tell me a little bit about that, how the culture influenced this book.
Okay, so we've actually only been living most of the time in Spain for the last couple of years. We just
Okay.
our long stay visa in at the beginning of 2024. So it's been, two years more or less. And it's funny because we did the whole thing of moving to Spain while I was writing the book, while I was trying to think about it, and then while I was writing it. And as you know, one of the principles in the book is get good at change. And so everything that I've been teaching people about change all along comes into play. But I feel like um, one of the great things, well, let me back up and give some context. So the reason I called this book The New Old is because human beings haven't really had the chance much before now to get old. One
Mm.
wonderful statistic that I put in the book that I really like is that 100 years ago, only 1 in 20 people were over 65.
Mm.
Now, 1 in 6 people in the world are over 65. So 100
Wow.
years ago it was very rare, very unusual. 5 out of 100 people were over 65. And now it's very common. Most people who are born, especially in Western countries, will get to be not only 65, but 70 or 80 or 90. So this idea of being old and being vital and being still energetic and able to do things at 70 or 80, 90, this has never happened before in human history. So I feel like we need to think about oldness differently. Always before we've kind of looked at our human life and gone, okay, 2 chapters and an epilogue. The first chapter is you grow up. The second chapter is you're an adult. And then there's a little short epilogue where you retire and die, basically. And now it's 3 full chapters because people retire if they retire at 60 or 65, then they have 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 more years to live. So I really wanted to craft a way for people to navigate this new old better. And one of the great things about, back to your question about being in Spain for the last couple of years, is I see how much I love both challenge and joy. And being in a new environment with a new culture and a new language and new friends, it's been tremendously fun. And I'm really enjoying it. And I'm really enjoying learning Spanish and having my Spanish be good enough that I have friends in Spanish and I can take classes in Spanish and all that. But I feel like it really shatters this stereotype that a lot of us have that once people are 65, they kind of stop learning, they kind of stop growing, they kind of stop doing new things. And I just want to let people know that that doesn't have to be that way and that they can keep just having a wonderful, fun, meaningful life.
What you just mentioned is exactly like one of the quotes from your book. You give the example of changing it's all downhill from here to I don't know if that's true and I want to make my life as positive as possible. Great statement. I'm curious to know like how can people do this and make it become automatic, like a habit?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, as you know, the way I framed the book was principles. I didn't want
Mm.
to give, kind of low level advice. Take this vitamin, do this exercise. I wanted to really kind of pump it up and offer people principles that they could apply to craft a great later life. And one of them is, as you know, manage your mindset.
Mm.
So it turns out that exactly what you're talking about, thinking differently about yourself as an older person, about aging, is incredibly powerful. There's a wonderful study that I talk about in the book and that I've talked about a lot since that was done by the Yale School of Public Health. And they took hundreds of people between 50 and 80 and they asked them all questions, true false questions, to
Okay.
determine their attitude toward aging. So there were questions like one question was, um, older people are a burden on society, true or false? Right.
Mm.
So if you say true, then you have a pretty negative attitude about aging. If you say false, then your attitude's probably more positive. So they gave everyone this true false questionnaire, and then they just divided this 700 something people according to their attitudes. Like, okay, so this group, more positive attitude, this group, more negative attitude. And then they followed them. They followed their lives for 23 years. And it turned out that simply having a more positive mindset about aging added 7.6 years to people's lives. The people who had a more positive mindset about aging lived over 7.5 years longer.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible.
Really incredible. I mean, that's, if you stop smoking or lower your cholesterol or lose weight, you can add a couple of years to your life, but 7.5 years to your life. So it turns out that this kind of invisible thing that everybody has control over, how you think, is one of the most powerful things you can do to increase both the quantity and the quality of your life. So back to your question, if somebody is thinking to themselves, oh, I'm old and it's going to be bad, it's all downhill from here, or nothing fun will ever happen to me, you can shift the way you think. And I'll teach you right now. The way to do it is, and this is not just for older people, this is for anybody. We can all manage the way we talk to ourselves. So the first thing you have to do is recognize that you're saying something unhelpful to yourself. And usually you can do that by noticing how you're feeling. Like if let's say I'm 75 and I just start feeling really kind of bummed out and disanimated. And so I think, what am I thinking to myself about getting old? And let's say I'm thinking it's all downhill from here, right? Of course, that's going to make you feel terrible. So then once you recognize it, I encourage that you write it down, and you can write it down, with a pen, pencil, or you can write it down on your phone or computer, whatever, just to write it down, because once you write it down, it sort of separates you from it. It doesn't feel like you anymore. It's like cutting your hair. It doesn't belong to you anymore, So
Right.
look at what you're saying. And often what happens when people do this, they recognize it, they record it, they write it down. And I've often had people look at what they've been saying to themselves and go, oh my gosh, that's awful. I don't even really think that. I don't want to think that, so that's good. Then the next step is to revise it. And there's two really important things here. If you want to change the way you're talking to yourself and you really want it to make a difference, you have to revise it to something that's more hopeful and supportive of the outcomes that you want. And it has to be something that you will believe. Because if
Right.
you say something like too positive that you don't believe, like if you say, oh no, it's all going to be so easy and fantastic from here, you're not going to believe that. You'll just go back to what you were saying before. So what I encourage in the book is to say something just even neutral and open. If you say, okay, so I'm saying to myself, it's all downhill from here. But what I want to say is, I don't really know. I don't know what's coming, but I want to be open to it. Right.
Right.
Think how differently that would make you behave and feel. If you're saying to yourself, it's all downhill from here, you're going to be bummed out, you're going to be depressed, you're going to be demotivated, you're probably not even going to try new things. If you're saying to yourself, I don't know what's coming, but I really want to find out, that's just going to trend you in a whole different direction, right? So
Exactly.
that's a technique, and you can use it for anything. I've been doing this for 40 years, and I find it particularly helpful now that I'm old, because, society has a lot of ageist stereotypes, and those kind of get into our heads too. Oh, you're going to be old and weak. Oh, you're not going to be able to do things. Oh, it's going to be terrible. It's like, no, 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 no. I don't want to say that to myself. What I want to say is, feels good now. I'm committed to having a great life. I'm going to do everything I know how to make it work. You can just say things to yourself. It's like being your own coach, right? You can say things to yourself that are more hopeful, more positive, and believable. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And I think that one thing that resonates mostly is that this applies to anybody. You know what I mean? Everybody's going through these challenges. So you kind of just have to coach yourself, like you said, and be aware of what you're doing and your own mentality and perspective of things. So I love that. And regardless of the age,
Yeah.
it applies.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been teaching this to leaders for 30 years, 40 years, but now applying it, knowing that as we get older, we can apply it to ourselves so that we get the benefit of that positive mindset about aging. It's very cool. It's very powerful.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that everything you're saying is grounded in science and research. And I guess to transition a little bit into the writing process of this book, what was that research process like for you? How did you come up with such solid, facts and statistics about this? It must have taken a while.
Well, this is the beauty of the internet. I
Uh,
my own ideas, and then I interviewed a lot of people. I interviewed about 25 people between the ages of 70 and 95, colleagues, friends, people who were introduced to me, and got a good sense of what those who were thriving, what they were doing. And then I just, went to the internet. There's a lot of great stuff out there. And when I found something, I always looked for other sources and made sure that it was validated and stuff. But, it's the good thing about the internet. You can find out good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so there we go. I mean, the research process, heading onto the internet, and also conducting interviews. So definitely something to think about there. I love that. So yeah, to transition then into, the success of the book itself, which is something I think a lot of people can learn from. I mean, you became a bestseller on Amazon. So why do you think that this book resonated so strongly? And, I'm wondering, I mean, I'm assuming everyone can relate to it, but what in particular do you think about your book related to people the most?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. Well, part of it is I think the timing was very good.
The timing. Okay.
There are the baby boomers are just such a huge generation. And we boomers, people in their 60s and 70s and early 80s now, we've always kind of prided ourselves on redefining things. And so I think a lot of boomers are trying to do what I try to help them do, redefine old age. What does it mean to be old? There's a strong pro-aging movement, as opposed to anti-aging. Like, let's find out what it means to get old and how we can do it well. So I think the timing societally was good. But then I also think that, and I always think this about my books, I think that I'm able to write in a very warm, kind of conversational way. It really, like, people who have listened to my audiobooks often say to me, I feel like I just hung out with you for 7 or 8 hours.
Aw.
Right? That makes me feel wonderful. And I think to have that combination of I'm on your side, I'm going to help you through this, we're in this together, with my very kind of practical, science-backed, as you've said, research-based style. I think that's a good combination. People feel when they read any of my books, but I think this one, especially, people feel like, okay, I've come away with some real tools that I can apply that are going to be helpful to me.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah, I get that. And I love that you said that it's like as if I'm having a conversation with you because I can sense that even as we talk to each other. You're very personable and you just have this passion for what you do and what you talk about. It really spreads onto others. So totally get that, totally on the same page. But you also didn't just stop there with the book. You also have a Substack called The New Old. So I'm wondering how that complements what's in the book.
That's a good question too. So one of the things that I've found over all the last 20 years of writing books is that even if you have a wonderful book, if people don't know about it, then they're not going to buy it. They're not going to be able to take advantage of it. So I was looking around, I've had a blog on Forbes for a long time, 15 years, but that's still leadership. And then I have my website, but that's, who knows it unless I send them there. And I started to investigate Substack, and I discovered that there are a lot of wonderful writers on Substack doing a lot of great things. The reason I found out about it was the very famous contrarians, Jen Rubin, and the people who came over from other national media. But I started to read Substack, and I found that there were a lot of wonderful, smart, vital older people on Substack. So a couple of months before the book came out, I started my Substack called The New Old, and it's growing slowly. I think I have about 100 subscribers now, but it's just more than anything, I just love the opportunity to interact with other people in the pro-aging movement who are really trying to shatter the stereotypes, give people different models. So
Right.
It's fun. It's a combination of a fun way to get the word out about the book and to just build my own community.
Well, no, I absolutely understand that, and it's great that you're kind of building, a community for the movement and showing, people that this is a whole other side of things that it's changing and it's something we can all be learning from and in tune with. So, if somebody does want to connect with you and follow that Substack, what's the link or how can they find you?
Oh, it's easy. It's Erika Andersen 1.substack.
Oh, very easy.
Both of my names are spelled kind of oddly, you just spell my name like it is here in the screen, then you'll find it.
All right, well, perfect. And also, guys, we're going to put the link in the description box of the podcast today, so we can go ahead and click on over. But Substack isn't the only way to reach you. I'm sure you have some other forms of media for us to check out. Where else can we head to?
LinkedIn, Erika Andersen, LinkedIn, and my own website, which is erikaandersen.com. And that's, I'm still doing the podcast for Proteus along with two of my other colleagues. So there's anybody who's still interested in what we do, what I do, what Proteus does about leadership and change can go there as well.
Okay, I like that. Well, guys, we're gonna put that in the description box. Check out the links, get connected. It's all some exciting, new, and important stuff for us all to learn. So, I know this can't be the end though. You're always are growing. You're adding more things to your list of achievements. Now that the book is out, what's next on the agenda?
Lots of things. I mean, it's fun being able to just kind of explore. I'm looking into other ways that I can help people take advantage of the book. I've already done a couple of small group kind of trainings and conversations about the book. One in Spain with expats, one here in America. So I might be doing that. I'm very excited about the book being translated into Spanish. Um, there, the life expectancy in Spain is about 6 years more than life expectancy here in the United States. And there are a lot of old people and they're vital and they're in the community. So I think it might be a great resource for them. And my Spanish is just getting good enough that I feel comfortable doing interviews in Spanish, which will be fun too. So I'm very excited about that.
No, that sounds really exciting and just kind of spreading the word and the reach into different areas of the world too. So all important stuff. I love that. Well, this has been a very engaging conversation. I think we've touched upon a ton. I'm curious to know if you have any other, tips and tricks for the listeners today, something they can walk away with and continue on with their day and learn from. Anything
Oh,
you touched upon. What do you think?
so I think, if our listeners, your listeners want to buy the book, that'd be great.
Of course.
If you don't end up buying the book, I'll just tell you that I want to communicate to you these principles in the book because I think they're important just to hear them.
Yeah.
This one is to be the boss of your life, to don't to not let society take away from you the agency of your own life as you get older. Figure out the kind of older person you want to be and the kind of life you want to have. Second one is master your mindset. We've talked about that, how to do it, how important it is. Third one is get good at change. And I talk about how to uh, get fluent at going through changes, not to have them really grind you down. And I think that's really important as you get old. A lot of times we think, oh, now I'm old, it's all going to stay the same. It's not. Things are going to keep changing. And sometimes they're difficult changes. People die, your kids move away. So it's important to get good at change. And then the last one, there's three principles and then this kind of thread, which is connection. So I think the last thing I want to say is anybody who's especially over 60 who's listening, I really want to encourage you to make and nurture and keep good connections,
Mm.
because a lot of times as we get older, our connections fray. We may move away from friends. Older people are getting divorced a lot more. Our loved ones may die. So don't stop making connections. Just don't assume that when you're old, you're done making friends. Look for new people that you can hang out with, who can support your life. Keep making connections. It's a really important part of having a wonderful older life. So that's
I
what.
love it. Yeah, and that's so important. I think in today's day and age, people don't, see the value in connection as much. They think, okay, I know this person, whatever. But I love that you said that it's something to, keep in the back of our minds. Don't close any doors. Stay
Yeah,
in touch, right?
yeah, exactly.
I love that. Well, hey, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. It's been so nice to see you again and hear from you and learn about these upcoming projects. So, guys, check out the links in the description box. Get to know the new old and Erika Andersen. She has some very insightful, very important things for us to learn from. So, go ahead and do that. And Erika, just thank you so much for coming on. It's been a true pleasure.
Thanks, Danielle. It's wonderful to talk to you again.
Of course. And to everybody listening, keep crafting, keep learning, and keep becoming who you want to become. We'll see you next time on the Authors on Mission podcast. That's a wrap on another episode of the Authority on Demand podcast. If today's conversation sparked something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with a founder or a leader who's ready to stop being the best kept secret in their industry. If you want to turn your expertise into inbound demand, head to authorityondemand.com to see how we help clients go from unknown to in demand. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, and I'll catch you on the next one. Now, go build some authority.